Good evening, everyone. Again, thank you so much for coming to the Newbern Redevelopment Commission meeting. Thank you for your sacrifice. Commission Vice Chair Parham, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Lovick.
Here.
Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Tripp.
Here.
Commissioner Strickland.
Here.
Commissioner Walker. Commissioner Wallace. Commissioner Parham.
Here.
Chairman Lee.
I'm here.
Co-Chair Garagoy is here. Ex officio members, Alderman Bengal,
Here.
Alderman Best, Alderman Harris. You have a quorum, Madam Chairman.
Thank you so much. I see our guiding principles are. Oh, look at Van! Come on, Van! Okay, Vice Chair, would you lead us in?
Closer. Past, present, future, equal time.
Respect others' opinions.
Listen to build consensus.
Which number are we on? Oh, there. 4. Share accurate information. Public perception.
Stay focused, be action oriented.
Oh, believe?
Believe, yeah. Most important. Yeah, everybody likes that one, Miss Lovick. So when you get that one, when you sit over there, that's what you're gonna get.
Oh, I didn't
All
know
right.
that.
Thank you so much. Welcome to our new commission members. Ms. Lovick was here at our last meeting, and she was sworn in at that time. But we say welcome to Mr. Parham. I'm used to calling him Alderman Parham for so many years. Some things you remember, and so we thank him and welcome him. And so we need him to be sworn in. So who's doing that?
I did that the other day.
That was done.
Oh, you already did it?
Yep.
I did it
Okay.
yesterday morning.
Okay.
That's what the email told me to do.
You follow order.
All right.
Well, thank you so
Okay.
much and welcome. Next on our agenda is our public comment, and it is limited to 4 persons, to 4 minutes per speaker. So do we have any public that wish to speak tonight? Okay, all right. We'll go into agenda item 3, that is the approval of the minutes for February 23rd, March 5th, and March 9th.
Madam Chair, I'd like a correction to the March 5th minutes. It listed me as present, and I was not present that day for the tour.
Okay. We'll get that correction in. Okay. Any other corrections? If not, could we have a motion to approve?
Should we take them one at a time or do them as a block?
You can do them as a block. If you'd like to add the correction, you can certainly do that in the same motion.
Make a motion that we approve the February 23rd minutes as submitted, the March 5th minutes as amended, corrected, and the March 9th minutes as submitted.
Second.
Hearing no questions, I'll second.
All right, all in favor, aye? Nays? Ayes have it, thank you. Agenda item 4 is a discussion to share information regarding 908 Bloomfield Street. Commissioner Walker was supposed to be here, but she ended up having to go out of town. And so you have in front of you her notes. One of the things that we had talked about, or one of the things, a lot of the discussion we had talked about, is it something we still want to do as part of our plan? How much would it cost? What does it involve? How much more? And you have the information in your packet. How much more we have to do? It's going to be a health center, a health and wellness center, a combination of that and a resource center. In Shorts neighborhood plans, the 5 points call for resource centers throughout the community, and there's already some in the community. Craven Terrace has one. There's one in Garden Street, and also a couple of churches have them as well. Resource centers where you can pick up resources, where you can pick up food, where you can pick up information about different nonprofits in the community, things like that. Because when that plan was being done, it was about access, and it still is about access. So those are there. So anyway, you have what Beth had originally sent out. You have that, and then I just gave you some further notes from her. And then also down at the bottom of those notes, I had a conversation with Scott Harrison from the health department, and they have been a partner. They actually said in Choice neighborhoods, and they've been working in that area for a long time, doing different things. But I asked him about the community health center there in Havelock. It's in the shopping center there. What does it used to be there? Roses,
Winn-Dixie, I'm thinking that shopping center.
Yeah, everybody familiar with where it is? Okay.
Right on 70. Cato.
Yeah, right there.
This is Cato, so.
Oh yeah, Cato's is there. So I just asked him what did it look like, what did it cost, and what kind of funding did he get for it. And you can see here what he has said. Of course, we have talked with him several times and met with him. The former head of the health and wellness group, they met with him, but they was also working. We worked with the director that was before that, so we worked with the health department, and they know what they're doing. But his numbers are very similar to some that when I talked to Goshen that they had. Of course, Kinston Community Clinic is like 3 times this, because they are a full clinic. They do everything from dentist, OBGYN, everything. It is a very, very nice health clinic. Very nice there in Kinston on Queen Street. And staff will and everything. It's a different kind of facility. So you have that information again. You got that in your packet. There's been a lot of conversation about 908 Bloomfield Street. There's a lot of conversation going on tonight. There's going to be a lot of conversation going on until this comes to a decision, a fruition, whatever that fruition is. And so it's open for discussion. Thoughts, prayers, consents?
I'll stir the pot.
Yeah, okay. I'll come behind you.
Okay, as long as the pot don't run over, we good.
I will continue to reiterate a concern that Beth talks about as well in her little summary sheet here, which is when you build a building or remodel a building, you do it to a program, to a planned use. And I don't feel like we're there. We have that to work with at the present time. I don't feel like we have commitments from providers who might provide the medical or clinical activities that we'd like to have there, so that they could have input into what needs to be done, what it should look like, and so forth. You just always work to a plan or a program with any kind of reestablishing of buildings or even new buildings. If you ever work with an architect, first thing I want to know is, what are you going to do with it? That's where they all start. And I don't think we're there yet with what the plans are for Bloomfield Street. And the other thing that came up in reading Beth's little summary here, and what you added, Chairman Lee, was the use of other buildings, like in Havelock, they took a Cato's fashion store and repurposed it. Now, is there any other buildings in that area that might allow us to acquire and would be cheaper to re-establish? For instance, I think I'm right about this, but I think there's a church for sale in that general vicinity over that way.
Yeah, there is.
You know, is that building in better shape that would require less capital investment to purchase, so that if the combined purchase, use, or whatever, or are there other structures in that general area of the community, of the redevelopment area, that would lend itself to going in and gutting and reestablishing what a plan would look like for that area? And I don't know. I'll be the first to honest. I tell you, I don't understand. I haven't seen all the buildings in that area, but there are just things to think about. And with the price tag we're seeing for the Bloomfield Street, just kind of makes you wonder if maybe there are some other options that we ought to look at. Just my thoughts for this evening to start a discussion.
I agree with you there. I think if we want to peel it back and start at the very basics, and the very basis is that we believe some sort of services are essential to that neighborhood, to that community. With that being said, that location was given to us, there it was, and you know, why not try to make something of it? That's what Maria and John were really working on, just couldn't like complete it to bring all the pieces together. My issue, my concern being that I think the health clinic would be good if it had a place for people to go and get these services. I just don't know that the health department would be the partner that could provide that. But I'm concerned about the handicap accessibility of that, the house as it stands now, trying to get in and out. It's got second floors. Is it really conducive? But we own that property now. It's in the Redevelopment Commission. It's ours. Instead of looking elsewhere, what would it be to take down the house and build a structure based on what we need that would provide the services right in that very place that would be handicap accessible, one story, whatever they decide the services are. I just think we need to have several options, and you're right, we do need to have a program in place. But at the end of the day, the program's got to be services for that community, because that is the walkable area for that community. Unless we decided to make it some kind of a home where people could rent or something. I'm just really concerned about the accessibility. I guess Barbara and I have watched poor Miss Sampson climb the stairs for how many years now, trying to get up to our meetings. And I couldn't imagine somebody trying to get into that building to get a blood pressure check, and your blood pressure would be sky high trying to get into the building. That would be my concern. But we've got it, it's ours, we should do something with it. I think that's what's really important, is that it belongs to the Redevelopment Commission, and they should find a way to make it useful to the community in some way, shape, or form.
What was the amount that Ms. Walker gave her last report for rehabilitation of that building?
$410,000.
And that was the state-of-the-art building that she was talking about bringing that building back to.
Yeah, in first-class shape, yes.
For general use, accommodate basic facility functions such as administrative spaces, clinic spaces, and meeting spaces.
Yeah.
So that's not a final build-out cost. We don't know exactly what the final product looks like.
Yeah. And the other thing about a program that I keep harping on is, you know, the money's got to come from somewhere. I mean, this can't go say, we want $400,000 to revitalize this building. I mean, you got to have a plan of what you're going to do and why that's important to get that funding to provide the services that Sabrina was just talking about. But you have to have that kind of laid, I think. I'm not an expert on grants and soliciting funds, but I would certainly think that anybody that was going to give us $400,000 would want to see a plan in place of what the building was going to look like, who was going to provide the services, and how it was going to be sustainable.
Well, now I'm pretty sure everyone is aware that $250,000 has already been from the city of New Bern, okay, through ARP funds. That's $250,000.
I didn't
But-
know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
Okay.
Well, we discussed putting there, I don't know that we put the final on there, but that's, as the part of the budget, that's what we,
Yes, of ARP funding. So, you know, when I went in that building, I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer, or whatever, but when I went in that building with some old city officials, and I see potential for that building, and I don't think it's gonna take $400,000 to get that building up and running. And that's just my assessment. Like I said, I'm not an engineer. But has there been a second? Has there been I know Beth presented that one proposal. Has there been a second estimate given? Has that been provided to the redevelopment commission? No.
No.
Okay.
And the reality is that you're getting an architect's opinion of work. The rubber meets the road when you develop your scope of service of work and send it out to bid with your details of what you want done.
it could come back $500,000 or $600,000.
It could come back
environment,
$550,000 or $600,000. I mean,
as we know.
But what we're planning for that building, and, you know, I wish Mr. Reggie Jones was here tonight, because I know he has been working on a lot for as planning for his programming with Dr. Fisher, Dr. Caldwell, and Dr. I can't even think of the other doctor's name. So, I mean, there is grant money that I know that they were speaking of applying for grants as well.
Wasn't there a three-pronged process?
Hmm?
Wasn't there a three-pronged approach to this? Like, didn't they just have something last week at the Abundant Life? All right. So we're already rolling with the programming. And I'm sorry.
But is that program,
Excuse me.
we really need to bring that in-house. I think, again, we're all out there, how do we work as the redevelopment commission here with the policy and the vision, and then get all these individual groups to partner and come with us to provide those services, because we can't do it all. But yeah, yes, you're right, that's a point, and that's resources that the community needs. How do we get them into a place like this, or how do we work together to provide the space that they need for that?
Right, and the Health and Wellness Committee was the one heading that up for the last 3 years. And I'm sorry that none of them are here. But I know one piece has been checked off, the Abundant Life, that's done. So now we bring back to this, and I missed the first part of the conversation, but now we bring back to this building, which for 3 years we've been talking about this. And then it was again, bait and switch 3 months ago, but now all of a sudden that was off the table.
No, it was not bait and switch.
Okay, all of a sudden it was said that we were not going to go with that particular spot. Is what maybe I used the
Find
wrong
a
term.
better way to spend the money, that's all, that's all. I mean, to provide, at the end of the day, providing resources to citizens is the most important thing.
Right.
You know, if it's here, it's got to be accessible, and it's got to be realistic, accessible, and fundable. And, you know, I just want to make sure that we all understand it. No one's trying to pull back from anything. If, you know, this is a great piece of property, but it's got to work for everybody, for the citizens especially. And if we can put it in there and do it, then fine. That's why Barbara worked really hard with the ARP money and getting that amount of money, you know, earmarked for that, because we don't want it to be an eyesore in the community, no matter what it is. Right now, it's boarded up, it's sitting there, and it should be an asset to the community, not a detriment.
Right, and that's why I just brought the conversation up that the collective spirits at this table should have an at-potential mindset, not an at-risk. And the way the dialogue's going thus far, I just caught it in the middle. So I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what is happening right now? But that's been the plan this whole time.
Yeah.
So
you see, when I look at this building here, and like I said, that's our potential there. When I look at this building here, so why can't you have your services on the first floor, upstairs be all administrative office space?
But you still have to make the first floor handicap, it is not handicap accessible right now.
I don't see why that can't be done.
No, anything can be
Yeah, it
done.
can be done.
yeah, I mean,
So-
and it's not going to take $200,000 to build a ramp for handicap accessible. It's not going to.
Yeah.
I mean, the
exactly.
pricing is kind of, to me, my opinion, personal opinion, you know, watch terminology, it's inflated. When we first was told it was $225,000, and the architect went out there and came back at $14.
Yeah.
And I know we gotta meet somewhere in the middle. Like you said, things are gonna change once we bid it out. I've been through that process as well, but at least we can go forward with those plans and make sure we have that. But again, our mindset here should be, let's do all that we can at potential to make sure that's the site, because like you said, Alderman Bingo, the walking distance is right there, right smack dab in the middle.
I agree, but I'm learning a lot because of public buildings, because again, when you talk of public space, this was a residential space,
Right.
and you have to turn it into a public space. There's different requirements, I'm sure Mr. Shelley can tell us about. So we're not only talking a ramp to go in the door, the bathrooms in there are not handicap accessible. If you want to hire anybody, the law says for a public building, it has to be handicap accessible to your workers and to the people that use the public space. And I think that's where the additional cost is coming in, not to say, you know, if this was a resident or used for residential purposes, I believe every bit of $200,000 could fix this, but when you have to step in, I might be wrong, but there's different requirements that we will have to satisfy for a public use versus a residential use. And that was built as a residential, and that's the only difference. Doesn't mean it can't be retrofitted, doesn't mean you can't do any of the above.
Right, I mean, you widen the door frame.
Yeah,
We do it at
exactly.
schools all the
Yeah,
time. You widen the door frame as long as it's not a low
But
bearing
that
wall.
may be where the
That's not an
additional
extra
cost, that's where
Right.
the additional cost may come in.
And then put the stall in and put that little rail there, so that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm all there, I'm with you on that, but I still don't think it's.
Let me,
it's a-
let me get to some other
I got it.
commissions, and then we'll kind of put it.
Just,
Yes, Mr. Parham.
and I hear this, and that building been around since I was a little boy, but anyway. I kind of go with your idea of your plan or what you want to put there. And the other part is your partnership with those that you want to bring in. And once you got a partnership and know who's coming in the building, then you know what to design in the building.
Right.
Because some organizations are going to need certain things that maybe the architect, you just said clean it out, put sinks in, whatever. So, so the plan on who's going to be your partner is going to be very important as to how we design inside of the building.
I agree.
Okay? And the second part is, if you got a good partnership that's willing to come in there, what partnerships may want to help contribute to the remodel of the building? I don't know. So I mean, that's just a thought that we might want to think about. But the right partnership can make this job easy. But I don't know what partnerships you talk to. This is just my first meeting, but I got a lot of reading to do. That's all I can tell you.
Mr. Strickland?
Building off the theme, I kind of hear building over on this side. What is the commission's involvement or interaction with the group that has a plan right now, Mr. Jones and the other folks? I know Ms. Cho and Mr. Young were involved with them, but what is the official commission involvement with that group right now under our health and wellness working group?
Well, currently, we have not had anybody step up for the health and wellness group as of yet, so we're probably going to have to take that on as a commission itself unless somebody so nicely and willingly volunteers tonight. But they did have a partnership with them, talking with them. But it was also a lot of other partners that they had conversation with, and we have access to all the information that they had. I met with Dr. Fisher and many of them, and they all say the same thing as far as health and wellness plus a resource center there. I'll say this, and I'll put it like this, and I talked to Vice Chair. You have the Health and Wellness Center, let's say the 908 are there as the hub, and then it's like an octopus head. They are the octopus head, and then you have all these chemicals out here. You have Greater Bloomfield hub, I think they're calling it, the United Worship Center, which does a resource center. Then you have Creighton Terrace that does a resource center. So, you have all these things right here, and we build shell buildings all the time for people to come. Don't know if they're going to come, don't know what the plan is, if they're going to come. So what are we saying here? I'm hearing two different things. What are we saying? Are we saying we don't want to go with what it's saying, or do we saying we need to do some more research? We sooner or later gotta come to a decision commission. And we gotta, and the reason it's back on actually for discussion is so we can have a discussion and really discuss it, so that the next time it comes, there is a decision to move on. I have talked with Margaret as well as the interim director for development services. There are grants out there, but we all know that you need a partnership, which we have the local government partnership. You need the grant, you need that partnership, and then you need private partnership, which I know there's 2 or 3 that we are meeting with. And you know, one of the questions she asked is the same thing: is, you know, what kind of programming? But you can ask that question all day, and you will get a different answer. But it can't be a different answer. It has to be an answer that's suitable for the residents of the community, because it's not about us. It's about their needs. So,
Well, is it possible that if there are some things happening right now that is part of the redevelopment group that's happening in certain places, they can remain there for the time being, and then we just kind of push people towards those things that need those services? If it's something, you know, like at the church, or, you know, you said there's some things already in place in different places.
some different kind of resources. Yeah, not
Right.
that resource.
Not that, okay, not that
Yeah,
resource.
not
Okay,
that.
okay,
No,
okay.
not that one. Not on that level of a health
Okay,
community clinic. That's a
Okay.
totally different
all right.
different thing.
Can I add something to this?
Commissioner Lovick, yes.
What I was looking at from this standpoint is we have some money that we're going to be able to put towards this, and I do agree that you're going to have to eventually get some partners who are going to join in and see who's going to be the providers there. But I think the first step for us to do is just go ahead and show that we're doing something, meaning I think we can use part of that money to make the building, straighten up the building. And then once you get it where you clean it up and you can start making adjustments to where the rooms are and all that. I think that's before, if I was a provider, I wouldn't commit to, I was like, okay, yeah, you get something that looks suitable, then I'll come help you out. But right now, you're not gonna get anyone to commit. And the hub that Pastor Roy did, that's a resource hub, and she's not planning on doing anything much there except telling people that once this place is up and running, that, hey, this is a resource that you can use, and that's what's going to be really good about that partnership with them. So I think where we are right now, if we don't start making a move with using some of this money and showing that we're going to fix the windows, fix the roof and stuff.
Right, exactly, and that was my thing, when we went to look at this building, it was said that to, I think it was dry-proof this building, you know, I think it was like $50,000. That's, you know, getting the roof and the windows and all this stuff intact. So that would be, to me, that like Mr. Williams said, that would be the starting point, is to secure the building so it won't be getting more water damage.
Yeah, that's what it said on there.
And
Yes.
I definitely talk about Chair, may I?
Yeah, Mr. I need to get this.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Where I was leading with that question I asked was, is this group that has been working, I know we've lost our commission members that were involved in that, are they to a point of being able to present or document something that says we want to do A, B, and C here? Because if they are, then we can kind of bridge that gap of, okay, now we know what we're trying to do in this building. And we can start asking the question of, is the highest and best use to retrofit that, to find another lot next door and figure out a way to build something there? Or to knock that down and build something from scratch that's not going to cost us $500,000 in renovations for something that'll work, but it's exactly what we want. So if that group is ready to present something, then that would allow us to take a step forward, actually knowing what that step is going to be, instead of spending money that may wind up being bad money.
Yeah,
If
but
the
that
building's
group is
not
not doing medical services. They're not even doing anything close to.
But they'll have an idea of, I mean,
He's talking about Reggie Jones.
yeah, the Reggie Jones group
Okay.
that we were working with. So, I mean, if they were to a point of being able to document, we want a health provider that's going to have a functioning office to be able to see 2 or 3 people. We need a nurse's station that can do blood pressure checks. We need X and Y and Z. If that group is to a point of being able to quantify what they need, then we can start to figure out how we need to go about doing something. I'm all for doing something with that, but it doesn't make sense to me to spend $50,000 to put a roof if we find out 6 months from now that we're going to need to do X and Y and Z, and it's not going to make sense to do in the space that we have there.
Well, Mr. Jones, I've spoken to him a few times. I know their intentions were to put a medical center, to have a health clinic there. My understanding, just the reason that I went to the Abundant Life opening was to see exactly what was happening, because even being on the board, I wanted to understand how that impacted what we were doing. Are we doing, Mr. Jones, just like we just went over, there's 7 or 8 different groups doing different things. And so are we putting a place there that's going to be different from what they're doing, or are we going to be the centralized hub for that? But I know that Mr. Jones is talking about the medical part for that building. So, and I know that will come into the play as far as the handicap and everything else, as far as administration. That was their vision, but I know he does have doctors and things that he could probably do a presentation. He can bring them in and have them do a presentation for that so that you could move forward to it. But it does make sense to have options, because I was thinking the same thing as far as, if you can build another building that's just flat in the same spot and have it to where you can use it for whatever needed to be done instead of having it limited to just one thing. But I mean, that just depends on the cost.
All right, Commissioner Lovick and then Commissioner Wallace. Is that good?
Yes, I'm trying to put a humanistic touch to this discussion.
All right, would you please?
Oh, yeah, please.
Just love it.
Hey, you gotta bother them.
You already jumping, but go ahead.
Go ahead.
She brings another human
You're
in.
fine, I'm still reading, you're fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm a gentleman. You go ahead.
I'm good.
I'll go after you.
I'm good, I'm still reading, I'm just listening, just collecting my thoughts right now, so you're fine, go ahead.
Okay. Go on. Put a humanistic touch to this. We've been doing this, 3.5 years? How long are we going to continue to tell this community to wait? How long are we going to tell this community to wait? Right now, you got children from over there that parents send them to school because the only care they can get is the school nurse. They wait for the school nurse to say, oh, this is broke. They're at school, they're broke on. Oh, this is broke. Because they're right in that median gap where they can't get Medicare and they work. Can't get Medicare, but they can't afford to go to the nursing home either. Not without knowing that it's broke. How long are we going to tell this community to wait? How long? It's 3.5 years. We cleaned up the place. We don't have the funding to truly get down like you want to get down with the building and let's fix this housing drought we got. So this is a 3-part plan that we've had over the 3 years. This is it. And now we get right here, we got the funding, some funding. Just like you said, we got to show the community we're doing something. How long are we going to ask them to wait? How long? And that's all I ask. It's up. Oh, I'm sorry, Kim, go ahead.
No, hey, wait just a second. Commissioner Lovick, do you have anything you need to say?
No, ma'am, I'm fine, thank you.
Now, you sure?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you ever
Pop
do,
this balloon over here.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about
I just want to,
Okay, then
He's exactly right on all counts, not just the health and wellness center. Okay? I mean, we all know that. I personally don't, well, I do, you're right. But we had a group working on that.
We did.
On that, and that didn't produce the emphasis that we were looking for. If you remember, we were all after surveys. We spent our 3.5 years getting surveys.
2.5.
And that has not that didn't create any thing for us to work with as a commission as a whole. What I'm hearing the chairman suggest is that the whole of the commission take on this project now, not having a little sub-working group deal with it, that it becomes an emphasis for the whole commission to wrestle with, deal with, and work on. And so that's kind of where I am. I totally agree with you about showing we need to do something on numerous fronts.
Right.
And but I think that we bring this to the whole commission and put our emphasis and our talents to work on it, that we can move this forward a whole lot faster than we have in the past.
I agree. Thanks.
And
Yeah, I was just wondering, because Mr.
yeah, me.
Parham actually covered some of what I was gonna ask, but, so, Ms. Cho and Mr. Young didn't leave any type of progress with y'all, any type of information that was at a point to where y'all could take that information and move forward with it? Or is it health and wellness? Other than what you said, surveys? There was no other?
We don't even have the surveys. I don't think we have the surveys.
No, they never got,
You don't.
only got about 30 or 40 out of the 2.5 years. We do have some information, because I was copied on everything, so I do have that, and I can pull it together. I do have that. But, and I was in on a lot of the meetings with the partners, Dr. Fisher, and, and all of the other partners.
Can I make a suggestion that at our
Yeah.
next meeting,
Yes.
that we work hard to bring Dr. Fisher
Yeah.
and Mr. Jones in together to do a presentation of the status of the world and what their vision and program is. Dr. Fisher's been, I know he's been involved with this for at least 3 years, and he's the health department man that should play a large role as a service provider.
Would you think you need Scott Harrison in here as well, since he's the head of the health department, and he would have to
Yeah, I
bless
mean, he's done a
because of the
presentation
fund.
before to us
Yeah.
way back when.
But he could tell us where the funding is, where we have to go
Yeah.
to, or do they have to bless it? I'm not sure. Do they have to do something special to say we can have a doctor here, or we could have a nurse here? I'm not
Yeah,
sure how
I mean,
that
because I
works.
remember him talking about what that facility would have to be called. There was some special designation would have to be called to get the funding
It's
easily, or,
HQFC.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, bottom of the sheet
But
there.
again,
Yeah.
I think that would be a
And
very
also, we
visible
might want
next
to have
step.
nursing clinic on as well, so we can benchmark.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So we can have everything in a one-stop shop.
And they may want to open up, they may have some resources to open up in another location, either Mercy Clinic, because I know they're overwhelmed at where they're at
Good
sometimes.
idea. Oh, Rebecca, that's actually a good
You
idea.
know, again, that's what, it's really important that we have partners, because that's not our job to open it and run it.
Right.
It would be the partners, we would provide the space, the property, the real estate, and then the partners would run it and do that and bring the services to the community. We would just lend the space. So I think that would be another good person at the table.
Okay, so, Vice Chair, in what you're is saying is that we need to contact them for that, but that's another 30 days.
I don't have a problem with it.
I'm just
Special call
saying,
meeting.
that's another 30 days.
Well, in the
Between there,
meantime-
there needs to be some other steps. So what other steps are we gonna do in the meantime so that we can get to, a final point? You see what I'm saying? Get to a point. You know, because that's, like I said, you're getting back, that's May.
In the meantime, could the assistant city manager start the project? He mentioned about going on the stabilized thing. Money that he's had to go and fix it and start making it look appealing.
The
Is that
money
possible?
that I'm referring to is $250,000, but that hasn't been approved yet. It's just
Oh.
been-
It'll be in the, I guess, the new budget, would it be in the
Right.
budget?
Yeah.
Oh, so
So
it-
July
two
1.
months.
July 1.
Okay, I'm sorry, okay. Thank you.
Well, at least that gives us, so with all delivered speed as far as information gathering, benchmarking, partnerships and all that over the next 2 months, we need to be headed so we can have a plan when the money does come.
I really wish Beth were here tonight because she could tell us,
Yeah, Beth did do that.
she could tell us exactly what priorities would be in shoring up the building. And, you know, I personally wouldn't have any trouble with expending some of our commission money to shore up the building while we wait for the new budget from the city.
Madam Chair, in the spirit of being helpful, I think in the tour that the commission did a few weeks ago, one of the observations that was noted was the lots that are in front of the Bloomfield house. One of them is city-county owned. The larger lot where cars were parked is not owned by the government or the Redevelopment Commission. So parking may be something that you want to consider. Any public use is going to require parking. Satellite parking may be applicable, on-site parking, or some type of combination of the two. So I don't know if it's the pleasure of this commission to instruct staff to begin any type of parking analysis or to contact the owners of lots in and around that building that might be willing to convey property for parking purposes or any additional satellite purposes for the center.
Yeah. May I jump in?
Yes, Mr. Jones owns one of them. We know that already.
Right, there you go. And he said that he would be willing to
You want to sell it or just give it to the city?
give it.
He would?
Yeah.
Matt,
That
can we
was for
pull up
parking.
GIS real quick?
Okay, so
It's that other one that's in the front there, though, I don't believe.
The front, and I'm not certain if Mr. Jones himself owns that lot or someone that he's acquainted with.
Yeah, my recollection is that the building out of the lot out of the back is someone that has conveyed to him, who conveyed to us, that there would be an interest.
Told
Yes.
versus conveyed.
Yes, sorry, not the property, but the statement, the sentiment, that they would be willing to consider allowing it to be available to us for that use. Now, again, that comes with a caveat of that it's a promise or a offering.
First night, you knew that? That's pretty good.
There, those two lots right there, is where
So
the
this
gravel
is
is. That's the
This is
house.
908 Bloomfield. You guys own that. This is owned by the city,
And it's that
and that's
lot.
only that 20 feet off of Bloomfield, first 20 feet. Then the rest of the parking lot, so the other 2/3 of the parking lot, Thomas Stevens from New Bern. This was the one you guys were talking about, Robert Carter.
That's correct. That's the one.
And then this house, I don't know if it makes any difference to you, Mildred Gaskin's heirs out of Washington DC.
And the most important thing would be those lots and that gravel there at the very least. Since we own the one on the corner, you want to secure the one next to it.
What are the vacant lots across the street?
The city on lot across, kind of catty corner and up.
Right down the corner.
Yeah, right there.
Right,
No,
No,
right
Opposite
across,
way.
right across the street from there.
right there.
Yeah,
So
That's,
oh, that's all one lot.
Darrell Hatter.
There.
Do you guys all know him?
Yeah. Yeah, he stayed across the street, but he has a rental property across the street from me.
That's what to do with trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. He remodeled the chapel on Queen Street.
Got the house across the street.
I did not know that.
Did Mr. Hatter say he had plans for that, Mr. Parham?
But he mentioned that a year ago.
He what?
He mentioned that a year ago, but you see where we are now.
Well, I know Mr. Hatter.
Yeah.
Well, I just bring this to the commission's attention
just don't
because
happen.
given the square footage and the use of the building that you're talking about, there are going to be some mandatory parking
Yeah.
requirements. And it may be that several conversations will need to be had to be able to at least propose a plan to accommodate the parking. And that may be some additional steps that can happen in the
The
interim.
picture gets bigger.
Right?
okay.
The picture gets bigger.
So, maybe I'm not correct, maybe my memory is going, but Mr. Williams, didn't Mr. Carter say that the lot on the other side of that property that he would give to, was it you he was talking with?
He was saying that was the gentleman in the wheelchair, correct?
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, I think he was saying that he would, but
Yeah.
my understanding was giving it to Reggie, and Reggie would give it to us, so.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. I knew he said he was good, he would
Yes,
be
ma'am.
willing to
Okay.
give that lot. Yeah.
Well,
Parking.
there's two vacant lots back there behind the building.
We were just talking about the one.
But I think that belongs to him.
Both,
No, they both are owned by him.
both are owned by Robert Carter, both of these two.
Yeah. I can't see, are they just lots?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
two
vacant
lots.
lots.
There's
Just
stuff
vacant
on
lot,
it.
okay.
There's personal effects on it, and
Oh,
some work
no
would have to be
house.
done to clear it, but no property.
No house.
No.
See, that's,
No house.
That's a nice name, personal effects, you
Yeah.
call that. Very nice, very nice.
Storage. Storage.
then you have to dig up a piece of building.
Right. Offsite storage.
Okay, so,
Offsite storage.
I'm trying to be nice one time.
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that for purposes of the record and for staff's understanding, that the directives from tonight's meeting are as follows. Staff has the direction to invite Dr. Fisher and Mr. Harrelson to the May meeting of the Redevelopment Commission to
And Mr. Jones.
and Mr. Jones to discuss the status of any planning that has been underway as it relates to possible programming at the 908 Bloomfield site. And to also invite Mercy Clinic to participate in that dialogue or to convey information in some way about their willingness to partner and what, if any, programs they might be willing to do or sources of funds that they might have access to.
Yeah.
that is the
That
other
would be
part.
Scott Darrell.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's what I had for, getting in the next month, so that's. And that then will be to, we will be to, the city's budget coming online. Yes, yes, sir.
Chair, may I have permission, if Mr. Tripp will join me, to conduct these conversations with the parties that was just mentioned,
You may.
okay? To prepare for the presentation for the next meeting. Thank you.
You can work with,
Oh, man. Mr. Tripp.
Mr. Shelley.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, all right. So y'all have that marked, that Commissioner Tabari Wallace is gonna work on that? Okay.
In the short term. I see where you're going with that.
Oh, no,
Short
Hey,
term.
I've got a recording of a meeting we had one day where
You
you
just,
said something else.
I would help.
Know that you were saved. I'll just leave it like, I'll just leave it like that. All right, great discussion, thank you so much. We needed to get some clarification so that we can move on. Our next agenda item is actually just an update, and everybody should have gotten an email. Now, let Ms. Reeves talk about it a little bit about working with or having an interview or a conversation with the consultant that's going to be helping with the hiring of the executive director. Everybody should have gotten that information. Ms. Williams, you have anything else that you need to add or?
Yeah, basically, we've spoken to the developmental services, I believe is what it's called, and we are having, the person who's gonna be responsible for it is actually getting in touch with some of the aldermen and alderwomen for, because what they're gonna do is just gather information as to what type of person we're looking for, and I believe you also were
Yes.
the chair, and I'm not sure who else on the redevelopment commission was notified, and they're just gonna gather a lot of information first to see what we're looking for. And I think what they said, if everything goes as planned, I want to say about July is when they expect to have someone, the end of June, first July timeframe, that they'd have someone, hopefully have someone in place.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Mr. Derwick Page
Mhm.
is extremely insightful. He loves New Bern. God knows he loves the seafood in New Bern.
Do you know him?
Yeah, I talked with him at Link today. I had my meeting today.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm gonna jump right on it.
Yeah.
But he's extremely thorough in his presentation, and then he stops and he doesn't talk too much more. He asks you 6 questions, and they're very, very deep questions. So just be prepared to give your opinion, because he is definitely gonna pull it out at you in regards to what a great, or what we see as the most desired candidate.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, all right. Any questions regarding that? All right, moving on to item 6. And we met with Dr. Caldwell, and Mr. Shelley has an update for us.
All right, sorry. So we talked to both him, there were 3 on his team that we talked to. We talked to about where he's at, and he had said that he was going to be sending us documents that are the products of the services he's done so far. I've not yet received those. I don't think we talked to him about 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So then he suggested that he would need to know more information about the actual site. So I don't know if we're all familiar. We're talking about the one site on First Avenue. Yeah. The one that currently has a trailer and then the other house. And they were not quite sure about the dimensions of the site, and they were asking for surveys and such, but instead we actually provided them. They said they were going to have to hire surveyors and things to do the conceptual drawings. I suggested that we can send them and I did send them the GIS maps, which actually have dimensions on them. So provided them that. I provided them the floodplain maps as well, because actually the very bottom right corner, so the southeast corner, does have some flood plain on it, down at the intersection, but none of the rest does. And then we also let's see, provided them. Oh, then there's some topography that's also available on GIS. We're not sure how accurate that is, but so with some caveats. But that then began to explain why the floodplain is where it is. And so he is supposed to get back to us at some point. I forget what that actual date is. I'm sorry, my notes must be in the other room.
But we have not received anything from him as
correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So, Commissioner, when we talked to him, I think it was three or four of us and others in the room, he said the reason that he had not provided, I'm not sure if his conversation was through Jerry or whatever, but he said that he had not provided that because he had not received some documents, and we provided those documents to her, but he did say that he had some PowerPoint slides and things that he was supposed to provide to us, and as of yet, he has not provided us those things. We've been working with this contract, and we need to get to ending point so that we can go to the next level, the next phase in this project. I think the commission has been more patient than most would have been, but we need to get to that point. And so I will say that Mrs. Shelley, if you would reach out to him again, I see you, Ms. Harris, hold on just a minute. If you would reach out to him again and ask him where those documents are, and then we will take it from there. But just find out where those the ones that he said that he was going to send, so we can at least see, because actually what it was supposed to have is he met in the community. It was supposed to have some of those conversations on it, what the community said that they wanted, and we're at that point that we need those things.
That's right.
Now, because we need to, we can't do anything without, we need to move on. And we're starting to, we already had one rehab there on Eubank Street that we're doing, so like I said, we need to bring it to conclusion or do something else, but just wanted to update y'all on it because we are going to have to make some decisions. regarding that. Yes, Alderman Harris.
I spoke to him and he stated that it was okay for me to express that he's been battling COVID and he's going to follow up with his staff into where the documents are, but it is done and it will be presented to the commission.
Thank you. Okay, item 7.
I'm also going to add that because I don't have my notes with me. If I find some other more relevant information, I will pass it on to all of you via email.
Okay, all right, thank you. Item 7, strategic planning discussion. We were supposed to have it in February, and I think the weather stopped us in, then we had the bus tour. So I'm asking the commission, is that still something we're going to do at this juncture? Is it important for us to go ahead and do it? We need to go ahead and schedule it. And if we want to do it on a Saturday or come early or later to a meeting. Commission?
I'd come earlier or later to a meeting.
Earlier or later?
Why are you laughing, Tamara?
I said that all week. I was clear that one. Come early or later.
Mr. Wallace, you stay on task.
I'm sorry. It was eye-opener right here.
My personal preference would be to tack it onto the back end of the meeting. But
All right. Other? Okay.
Either.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay. All right. All right. I'll get in touch with you. Okay. All right. Our last item for tonight is that I've been contacted by some persons about purchasing some county city-owned property. And they were told to give me a call simply because it's in the redevelopment area. And so they will be asking for our recommendation to upset the bid. So I will invite them to the next meeting for us to hear from them. Understanding from the housing working group, it's not properties that we will be able to use in somewhere, may be able to do something else, but not in, what our current plan is. So I would just invite them to the meeting. That has been our protocol. It's inviting persons to the meeting. And so if somebody else, because like I said, there's a lot of transactions and things going on in the community with people trying to buy property. So including staff, if somebody calls about that, if you would just tell them what our protocol is for them to cook, they have to ask to be on the agenda and give us the address of the property, and then you can just see me so I know it's up there, and then you can take it from there. We won't have to for that. Is that okay with the commission? That's our protocol. Okay. 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 Our next,
Chairman?
yes.
This topic brings up another issue, that both these properties are joint ownership, city, county,
Yes.
and
And you have a map in front of you here. Thank you, Alice.
yeah, and the other thing, 810 is actually a building. They're looking at 803, purchasing 803 across the street.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it said, but 810 is a little building next to the church there. But regardless, the county properties, let's get into that.
Mm-hmm.
We requested 12 individual sites that we could utilize to do housing or something on. Okay. Where are we in that process? That's been going on for 2 months.
Mr. Williams?
Marvin, I know that,
I'm sorry, I wasn't.
I know that Foster's, I assume he talks to Jack, weekly.
The 12 properties.
The properties that are owned by city and county.
I apologize, we have not touched bases with him, to my knowledge, since the last time. I know we originally agreed on the 10, and then you all gave us 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if Foster's had any conversation with Jackson. I can check on that now.
Yeah, I mean, but for instance, if the county could get this settled with the city, these 2 tracts of land, we could sell, because they would be in the redevelopment commission. We could sell them, we would get the income from them,
But restrictions on it.
and we could put restrictions on them. This, I mean, even though they're all in the floodplain and they're undesirable for anything we would
Benefit.
use for developing and benefiting the community, the benefit to the community would be to sell them, get the income, and put it towards other projects that we're doing that would benefit the community. So it's really a critical thing in our long-term plan. We looked at income from selling properties, and everything that's come up before us in the last 2 months have been jointly owned properties that we've gotten nothing out of. You know, all we do is say, we're not going to use them, go, let the alderman initiate the upset bid process on
I
it.
guess we could talk, I can get with my colleagues and we can talk about the ones that have sold, and anything that the city got, ask them to remit that to.
Well,
the
but
redevelopment
it's
commission.
a
They're
bigger,
small
it's a bigger,
amounts, yeah.
bigger picture item than just $1,000 you
So
would get
Marvin,
from
just
each one.
if you'll
but-
follow up on that,
No.
we can have that maybe, we'll get
Okay.
that closed out. So
Okay, makes sense to me. Okay. All right, is there any other business before that needs to come before?
Alice brought up a good point before the meeting about the work that the NC State School of Design is doing.
Yes.
And again, we have no idea what's happening, but we know there's something going on.
Yeah, they had a conversation with them, a conference.
Yep, I can report on that. They had an interim review, so 4 or 5 hours going through the 10 or 12 students' individual projects, and they've actually progressed quite far. They all presented various kinds of projects. Some were individual homes, some were combinations of homes, or even apartment buildings or condos and things like that. And they're actually very interesting ideas and concepts for all of these. Not just in terms of their appearance, but also some of them were very attuned to how there was the connection that the homes would have to the community. I can think of one where there is a particular attention to creating an open space, using the buildings to create an open space that was primarily for the residents there, but was open to the street. And so it seemed like it could be a place where, you know, neighbors could come and sit outside or be outside or gardening or things like that. But the one big thing that came up was that's going to change all of their designs is that they all thought that they had to build the first floor at 11 feet above ground rather than 11 feet above sea level. So they all are on stilts.
Wow.
So some of them may keep the stilts because you're allowed to build over more, you know, higher than 11 feet above sea level. Costs more, but so most people don't do that because they don't have to. And the 11 feet is already 2 feet above the flood level. But some of them will change it too because they realize that that's not really appropriate for the community. So we'll see. That was just the interim review. So they have another review coming up in a couple weeks, and then a final review a week or two after that.
When they do the conference call, would you add Mr. Perigo to it, please?
Sure.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Anyone else?
That's it.
It's basically a Zoom, so it could be any number of people, quite frankly.
Less than a quorum.
Yes, anything less than a quorum.
Yeah, I'm invited and you're invited, that's too. How about you, Mr. Skirt?
Can you put
No.
That way we have the housing.
Yeah, right. We have the housing group there.
Yeah.
And, they could be there, and not me, so they can review. So, okay. All right, then, is there any further business? Yes, Commissioner Wallace.
Eubank Street, where are we at that?
Mr. Shelley,
Oh.
Eubank Street.
Right. So the next step is, of course, to build a foundation, so the house can be set down on it. Then the very next step is to hire a contractor to do the remodeling. So at this point, in order to hire someone to do the foundation, you have to put out the bids, take the lowest bidder, have to get at least 3 bids. And then the same thing with the contractor. So we decided what we're going to do is do it all together as one, right? You're remodeling the house, do the foundation too. So because they'll have subcontractors anyway, and that would be a subcontractor to the general contractor, and that way also we're not the contractor for the foundation guy in a firm, right? So so we need to put together a bid package. So the bid package, we would first ask Ms. Walker if she wants to do that, and I think we're in the process of doing that. But we haven't necessarily gotten an answer on that. Now, as we all know, she's volunteered to do all of her work so far, so we don't expect her to do that. So I checked to see if CDBG funds could be used for that. And apparently, yes, we can try and get our CDBG consultant, which is Urban Design Ventures, if they would be able to do that, and apparently they would be allowed to do it. I don't know if they can do it, we don't know that yet. So that's one option, is that if we need the bid documents done from someone other than Ms. Walker, then we can have them either do it or hire a sub-consultant to do it and charge it all through CDBG.
Okay. We need to go ahead and move on that, and then let Mr. Paraboy and them look at it, because CDBG funds used, but the level of work being done
Needs to be what?
Okay.
Needs to be good. Yes, of course.
Mr. Shelley, would you mind, Madam Chair, excuse me for making this comment, just so that everybody is aware of what we're talking about, if we could pull the GIS map up and maybe show the parcel,
Yep.
and maybe offer a brief background for the benefit of our new commissioners so that they have the full context of the conversation.
Thank you so much, Chairman. We appreciate it.
I'm going to get rid of these, get rid of all these dimensions here. Okay. All right, so Eubanks is this one right here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so we're talking, off of K Street, so it's the end of Eubanks there, just before K. And so we're talking this lot right here.
So the lot where you see the car there where the cursor is hovering is a parcel that was given to the Redevelopment Commission by the city of New Bern. And there was a house, a brick ranch style home that was located on a parcel at the corner of 3rd Avenue and Broad Street where the new Sandy White Center will be located. The city gifted that brick ranch house to the Redevelopment Commission. The Redevelopment Commission has relocated that house to the parcel that you see outlined in blue. If you drive by, you will see a very significant structure standing in the air. And squozen in perfectly.
Squozen, yeah.
I love the word squozen. That's on stilts, not yet on the foundation. Special thanks to Mr. Williams and the public works staff who were able to make sure the building was secured. Mr. Robbie Morgan, who's a commissioner who's unable to be here tonight, lives around the corner from this property and has been keeping a very watchful eye and communicating with Mr. Williams about any goings-ons. But that is the status. I'm not certain, I don't want to say anything wrong, when the house was relocated to the Eubank Street parcel, but this has been a work in progress. So that's the current status.
And we don't want to lose momentum because that was actually a win for the Redevelopment Commission in regards to the community. Y'all was out there. And they were happy that someone was doing something about it. And we had the listening meeting for some type of grant. That we,
CDBG money.
there it is. And the community was invited in to say what we should be doing with that money. And half the people was here to talk about their house. And then, yeah, I'm saying it was crazy that day. And then they actually said, we don't have anything else to say because they boarded it up and took care of it, so we're good. And they sat back, they didn't talk. So that was we ended our experience on this commission. Finally, in public. So we want to keep that momentum going.
And I think, Mr. Parham, that the commission's intended use for that house is for individuals who might need housing in a temporary manner, whether they're transitioning into a new home or are temporarily displaced because of renovations and construction in their current home. They will have somewhere safe and suitable to live until they transition to a more permanent residence.
So quick question, I don't want to hold my, but like I said, I got a lot of reading to do. Is it the commission, is this commission renting properties? Are we managing properties? I mean, help me out here now. I don't. We're not.
No. We don't want to get into that business.
Okay, all right.
But you might have to if you're gonna do redevelopment of a community. You might have to. But no, that's not something that's
Not the end game.
No.
Okay, because I was time is short, but I was just thinking, and help me out here, I was just thinking as redevelopment group, and like I said, I got a lot of reading to do. I was thinking the redevelopment group will be the group to lead and then direct those that do the job to do the job.
Yeah.
And not us be the buyers and purchasers and renters and builders. I thought the redevelopment group be there, but let me read and we'll discuss it later. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, that's my backup. Okay.
Mrs. Shelley, why don't we meet regarding that because we need to move on that. So I'll just get with you and then.
Yeah, should we do like, say, an orientation session of sorts?
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Yes.
I know we do that for the HPC for each new member.
And the Banks Street house.
Okay.
So we can see, yeah. But that, we just need to do it. Okay. All right, is there any other business for the commission?
More thing is to plant a seed since it's kind of taking some time to get steps taken on things. The First Avenue properties, they've been shored up accordingly. The mobile home is on lease secure completely, and then the duplex structure has been boarded up. Would it be wise for us to go ahead and have city staff start the process of doing some demo work on those, or at least getting that trailer out of the equation? Because
Absolutely.
if you want to get a win, there's going to be some wins. Some serious appreciation the day that mobile home comes out of there. The roof looks like it's been peeled off now. I don't know if the weather did it or if someone decided that was some scrap metal that was available. So,
Mr. Shelley may be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that there has been a preliminary estimate done for demolition costs for the mobile home. Am I misspeaking?
Yeah.
I think so.
It's been a couple of weeks, so I can't quite remember exactly.
I think so, because I think I saw it.
So
Well, yes, that must be, because
Yes.
yes, Patrick and the rest have been involved with that.
Yes.
I think there has been some preliminary demolition estimates done. If you'd like, we can certainly, I think you can direct staff to bring those estimates to the commission, and if you want to move forward with demolition at those costs, then you can authorize the chair to sign an appropriate contract. So if there's something that you would like to consider at the next meeting, you can give us direction.
Okay.
So corrected.
Agenda. Okay.
I'm going to say let's set a threshold. If it's under that threshold, do it before the next meeting.
Well, but we also are getting, Public Works has always come in and been the cheapest bid.
Yeah.
Make sure that they're included in this process.
Very much so.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Attorney Mosley, do we need to report on Washington? Is it Washington Street?
If you'd like me to, I can.
Yes, would you please?
Sure. On our tour, back several weeks ago, one of the stops on the tour were two parcels on Washington Street. I believe the addresses are 1412 and 1414 Washington Street. And Mr. Shelley is reading my mind and putting the little happy man right there. This photograph is from 2012, approximately a decade ago. I just want you to use your imagination. Use your imagination. The mobile home with the sign on it is no longer in existence.
Right.
The mobile home that's right there is still there, but again, use your imagination. The gentleman who owns those two parcels, or owned those two parcels, had contacted the city clerk because he had an interest in conveying those properties. There was tax foreclosure looming and things. And I have since learned that that gentleman has conveyed those properties to a private individual. And I have not seen a deed of record yet. According to GIS, it takes some time to update. The taxes have not yet been paid. However, that is the most recent information that I have, as recently as today. So I wanted to give you all the benefit of that information given the stop on the tour a few weeks ago.
Are the trailers still there?
The trailer on the right is not there.
Yeah, okay,
It was
okay.
demolished because of a minimum housing
Gotcha,
situation.
okay, all right.
The trailer on the left is there this moment. However, use your imagination.
Okay.
Isn't that under minimum staff?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Is it?
There, best I know, there is not a complaint or an order of the building inspector on that particular mobile home as of right now. Now, whether citizens have called and complained and whether there's a pending investigation, I cannot say. Because I don't know, not because of any comment.
Okay, if there is no further business, can we get an adjournment? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank y'all so much.